Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Africa Budget Pellet Gunner. Today we're going to be looking at something that gets discussed quite a lot when it comes to shooting springers, and that is the artillery hold. Should you use it? Should you not use it? And today we're going to look in a little bit more depth at that. So, firstly, what's the other options? So, for example, what I've got here, I've got a bag in front, bag at the back. This is something that you typically use on when you're shooting bench rest, and obviously then artillery hold would be basically holding the rifle in front with your hand and then at the back with your trigger, whereas with the normal bench rest shoot, most probably the gun would just rest here in front, and then you'll use this to elevate or lower your rifle. And then also you're not going to use much of a hold because you want the rifle to be as natural as possible, and that's basically how you would do a bench rest shoot. So the reason I wanted to tackle this subject is because there's so many videos out there that says you must use artillery hold with springers, and I don't agree. I personally believe that you can shoot your springer with artillery hold, no problem, but you can also shoot it in a way like this. So what's important to me is that whichever way you're going to shoot it, whether artillery hold, whether you're shooting it on bags, is consistency. So obviously with artillery hold, when it comes to consistency, we want to not put too much force back into the shoulder. It must just not lightly rest there. Also don't want to grip this too tight, just a nice grip on there, and then obviously the forehand needs to be consistent in the same place. So when it comes to shooting off of bags or off a bench rest setup, the same is going to apply. You need to make sure that you are consistent. So what do I mean by that? Well, where you put the rifle on the bag needs to be consistent. Your cheek that you put, the pressure that you put on with your cheek needs to be consistent. How tight you hold the rifle needs to be consistent. And then you will see, as I'm going to show you soon, you will get very good results off either of them. So the reason I kind of wanted to discuss this as well is if you look at, for example, this video.
Since this program is not about testing me, but it's about testing the equipment, we're going to bag rest this one very neutrally and employ basic springer shooting tactic, which is basically to hold the gun very lightly, shoulder it lightly, and cheek it lightly, and try to do everything the same with each consecutive shot so that your point of impact remains the same on the target.
Here you can see clearly he's using the bags and he's getting very, very good results. So the other option is, if you look at the guys that do, for example, HFT, they are always using some form of artillery hold when they're shooting springers, and they also get good results.
With a standard TX, we need to shoot up the peg, which is what a lot of people will recommend you to do. See, from here, I can place my hand against the peg, place the rifle in between my thumb and forefinger, and that way I'm giving equal pressure on the right and the left, and I'm allowing the rifle just to come back. To be perfectly honest, what I'm doing is I'm guiding the rifle. I'm letting it recoil, but I'm letting it come back. And because I'm not allowing it to go left and right, it will want to come back and possibly raise like that. And that is how you shoot a springer.
So I know everyone in the comments likes to always say, yeah, but you're not using the artillery hold. But my question to you is, does it really matter? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to shoot two groups. First one I'm going to shoot off the bags. Next one I'm going to shoot using artillery hold. And then we'll compare the groups. Obviously we need to keep in mind there is the human factor, and there could be one or two pellets. So definitely, I'm not saying this is the most scientifically accurate test that I've ever done, but definitely it will give us a good indication. And yeah, the other thing that I also think is important is obviously what you want to use the rifle for. If you're just going to be shooting off bags most of the time, then why not just use the bags? Because then the artillery hold might not really come into play. However, if you're going to be walking around and shooting, then definitely you want to rather use the artillery hold. The reason being, if you shoot off the bags and if you shoot using artillery hold, you will see there will be a change in your point of impact. So you'll see that now when we shoot as well, there'll be a change in your point of impact. So it also depends what shooting you do regularly, and that will determine whether the artillery hold is for you or whether shooting off of bags is for you. Or maybe use a combination of the two. So yeah. Alright, let's get to those groups. Alright, so first off, I'm going to shoot 5 shots using the artillery hold. One of the disadvantages of using artillery hold versus shooting off of the bags, the artillery hold, you're never going to be quite as stable, you're never going to be able to limit the movement as much as if you were using if you were just putting it on the bag. So there's always going to be a bit of movement here because you're kind of like, how can I say, the gun is not rested without anything affecting it. You always got a little bit of movement in yourself. So, alright, so as you can see, I've got my hand here. This is kind of the balance point, so you always want to use the balance point on your Springer. And all I'm doing on the sides here, just to guide the rifle back and forward, and then nice gentle grip on the handle here, and then light pressure here at the back. Right, so I'm going to shoot at the bottom one, 5 shots, see how it goes. Take one more just to see if we can kind of round off that group. think the one was a little bit high. Alright, so 6 shots. Let's now take 5 shots. I'm going to aim at the top target, and we're going to be as consistent as possible. Make sure we put the gun down in the same place every time, and light pressure, light cheek. Let's see how we do on the top dot. Right, let's take 2 more. I'm shooting at 15 meters, so not very far, but obviously whatever we get at 15 will just be exaggerated the further we go out. Alright, so I'm going to put those groups, just going to measure them up a little bit. Let's see what we got. This is now artillery hold versus just resting it on the bags. And then also, one thing we want to remember, there is always going to be human error involved. So, and yeah, let's see how it goes. Alright, so let's have a look at the results. Definitely, I think this kind of confirms what I suspected, and that is that you could actually use either or as long as you prove to be consistent with both of them. So let's have a look. We start off with artillery hold. There we shot actually 6 shots. I think the top one was a little bit of a flyer, but if we take the group of those 5 at the bottom, we had a vertical string of about 25 millimeters and a horizontal string of about 12 millimeters. So yeah, definitely not the greatest group. I think my shooting maybe needs a little bit more work, but definitely not too bad. And then if we look at the just putting it on the bags, no artillery hold, here we had a vertical string of 22 millimeters and a horizontal string of 14 millimeters. So this is probably the better group on the day, but I mean, like I said, you've got to consider human error, you've got to consider pellets. I haven't tested that many pellets through this rifle, so I think there may still be a couple of pellets that will do better, but yeah, it is what it is. I think this does prove the point that yes, artillery hold has its place, definitely, but if you're just shooting off of the bench, then doing the bench will also work as long as you're consistent. That's the key. Make sure that you are consistent. Alright guys, till next time, happy shooting, see you around.